Stugotz just shouted across the room, Heineke to the Falcons.
Green Lizard.
We are going to have football names moving over the course of the week. We have our tournament to update. We're very excited because we've got the get in sports in the next hour or so. We will have on the show Pants.
Oh, Pants!
Oh, Pants.
Oh.
This is big.
Greg Cote, do you want to take a guess at who Pants is? You weren't here yesterday. You don't know what the show was we did yesterday.
Right.
Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
You missed a meeting that we had. Before we get to Pants,
By design.
let me talk for a second about what's happened around
He
here.
could guess until the end of time. He's not going to
That's
guess it
correct,
correctly.
but I want to use him as a device to introduce the audience that may not have been listening yesterday who Pants is. But before I do that,
I think I know, by the way. I have a really good guess. But it's, you want me to say who it is?
I don't right now, but I'd like to hear your guess in a second. I just want
It's a good tease.
I want to set up for the audience how our day began. I don't think any of us at Metal Arc Media knew exactly what it meant in terms of lift when we decided to do this on our own, by ourselves, for ourselves. And in so doing, in the last 10 days or so, we have realized for the first time in show history, hey, maybe we need a meeting. We need to have a meeting. We need to have meetings around here. Chris Cote is right now furious with his father, as he often is on Tuesdays, because his father came in here not unlike Kramer walking into Seinfeld's apartment. His hair was in every different direction, blown by the wind. And he comes in 45 minutes late.
He's got good wind hair.
He does have good wind hair, yes. And he came in 45 minutes late and totally missed the meeting. That is the reason we start earlier. And declared that he was 15 minutes early. Because he doesn't do meetings, he says, and I'm only left to infer we need the meetings in order to get better. He doesn't because he's perfected this.
Again, Dan, just like yesterday, in Greg's defense, time changed this weekend. So,
Billy's right. I wasn't going to use that as a crutch, but when the Greg Cote Show podcast has a staff meeting, I don't attend those either. But my chief of staff gives me a little dossier of everything.
Rundown.
Of everything that was discussed and puts it in digest form. That's what I prefer. If you all could do that, that would be great. I could have gone over it in the 15 minutes I was early, and I'd be up to speed.
You weren't early. You missed the entirety of the meeting.
How'd that go, the meeting?
Well, we discussed some things that included the getting of pants. We secured pants. Chris Cote is mad at his father because he came in the way that he did today and doesn't think that he needs a meeting, and announced afterward in defense of that the Herald wants to celebrate 50 years of service, and he told them no because he doesn't want to go to the meeting.
Well, he held it up of I got enough meetings in my life. The Herald has so many meetings. I'm like, do you go to them? No, he doesn't.
Correct.
So what do you mean you have no meetings in your life?
Are they celebrating your 50 years of service or the Herald's?
Well,
what? Because you shouldn't have to go if they're celebrating you. You shouldn't. You just show up to the party.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not even doing that. He doesn't want anything to do with a celebration. He doesn't want a commemoration of 50 years.
Right. No, what the Herald does, and hopefully my bosses aren't listening, in lieu of a raise, the Herald marks anniversaries. They love doing that. Happy birthday.
Yeah, Disney sends you a pin. They give you a pin for service. Yeah.
You have not been working at the Herald for 50 years.
Yeah. My first byline, well, not full time.
But he's pretty close. Yeah. He's at about 48 or 49 now.
Not full. Full time. I think my first byline was 77.
How old were you when you wrote your first column?
16.
It's a hell of a run, Greg.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But why don't you want to be celebrated? You have declined a 50-year celebration.
Right.
You only get one of those.
Readers can celebrate me by clicking on my column.
You just don't want to talk to anybody.
Correct. That's part of it.
You should see my dad at a Heat game, because as I've now gone to start to cover things, when you see Will Manso in the media, you say, "Hey, Will Manso, what's up?" You go up, you have a little hello. My dad, when he goes into the little media food area, I'm going to get some popcorn, going to get a Diet Coke, right back to the press box.
I like it.
I don't talk to anybody. There's no small talk. There's no, "Hey, how's it going?"
That's the competition.
Hey, JB, what's up, man? Doing any singing lately? Nope, none of that.
Hate small talk.
Yeah.
I would wear a disguise to a Heat game
You
if I
should,
could.
yeah.
Like a false nose and glasses, like a Groucho Marx
Bobby
disguise.
Valentine.
Anything to avoid fake laughing at one of Tim Reynolds' barbs.
Yeah. Well, that's
Look at
funny.
that sincere
man.
hard laugh right
That's
there.
a
hard
funny.
laugh.
That's actually funny because that's like one of the few people he will talk to. Is Tim? I'll see him talking to Tim
We'll
Reynolds.
talk about that later.
I talk about other. I talk to. If I see Ira, the king of the Heat beat, I will.
He's fine.
I'll chat with him.
He's fine.
He's okay.
Battle lines have been drawn.
He's fine. Okay.
Greg Cote doesn't need meetings. Who is pants?
Well, I'm gonna guess David Letterman.
Oh, that's a good guess.
That's right.
Worldwide
Worldwide
pants.
pants. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nailed
Roy knew.
it.
Yeah.
Why
Get of
would
gets.
David Letterman be the get of gets today?
I mean, it's a
in-
pretty good guess. all
He's a
things
get. He's
considered.
a
it is,
get
yeah.
any day.
Better than pants.
I would rather have David
bump
Letterman.
pants for Letterman.
I would not
Yes,
bump
you would.
pants
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
worldwide
Yeah, you
pants. Not today. Not
yeah.
for this audience.
Any day.
If our audience, you would think so, right? Because I love Letterman, a true icon and hero. However, today I believe we have another true icon and hero.
We've
on
talked
with
about
us.
your dream guess, and Worldwide Pants is always up there.
He is always up there, but he's not as big as today's guest, Pants, who is the guy who finished fourth in the race against Tyreek Hill while wearing pants.
Oh yeah.
Oh, pants. Oh,
It's amazing he didn't finish fifth. I mean,
It really is a triumph of the human spirit. We should do documentaries at Metal Arc about how brave he was to finish fourth in the race against Tyreek Hill while wearing pants.
The best part of that race happened before the clock started, before the race, when Tyreek Hill, to show up the other guys, did what looked like a 5-foot vertical leap. It was unbelievable. I have never seen a man do that in real life.
I've also never seen a man race in pants.
that too.
Stunning that Tyreek Hill would be a really great athlete to be able to make it in the NFL and
Crazy.
win jump balls at 5'8" or whatever he is. But this is a legitimately exciting time for the Miami Dolphins, coming off a 9-8 season that was a curious and mysterious roller coaster of a disaster. They are now being aggressive, super aggressive in free agency. They won the first day. They got the name of the first day at a position of great need. We continue to just move on and skip right past Byron Jones screaming at us through the pain. Hey, beware of the doctors and the injections. Just replace them with Jalen Ramsey. Hooray. Get out of the way. Guy who used to be able to run and jump. We've got another cornerback to be excited about.
Don't make me feel bad about that.
And they also win in Greg Cote's heart because he is a homer and he loves when they win the offseason.
Yeah, they've won 3 in a row now, and I can document that. They won this one with Jalen Ramsey. Of course, last year they won with Tyreek Hill. And lest we forget, the 2021 draft, top 3 picks, may have been the best draft in franchise history. They get Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and the great safety Javon Holland. 3 fabulous picks in a row in the 21 draft. So they have won 3 off seasons in a row. And as I write in my column in the Herald, you can go read it. You don't get a trophy for winning the off season, but you do get hope, which is something. It's a
You win
powerful
enough
thing.
off seasons, eventually you get it right in the regular season.
Yep.
you
Well,
know?
what they're doing, though, is getting names at skill positions. They're getting you have to get excited, right, when they had a virtually unprecedented set of receivers, and now their corners are supposed to be, if Howard is healthy and not losing a step, because I do think we're burning through some bodies here. And last year fell apart because of how they burned through bodies.
Yeah, Xavier Howard did not have a great year last year, and he's 30. You know, it's a win-now mentality, which is one thing that you have to be encouraged about if you're a Dolphin fan. And Jalen Ramsey is 28. They have what they consider to be a 2 or 3 year window when they have to win. They have to win it all.
It's hard to be in win now mode with a quarterback who can't stay healthy. It just is. I'm with you. It feels like they're going for it right now.
But Stugotz, it's
But
also
Dan, they have questions at the biggest, most important position in sports.
Agreed, Stugotz.
No, they have Mike White now.
Right.
They
Or
do.
Brady.
They do have Mike White.
I love
Brady.
that signing, by the way. I think Mike White
Very
is an
good.
upgrade over
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater. I thought I wanted to see way more of Mike White. It was a shame that he himself got hurt last year, but that's a really impressive signing. It's smart too because now you feel confident, more confident in Mike White than you had confidence in Teddy Bridgewater. Now if Tua does go down, you have a quarterback.
What was that face, Billy? Billy didn't seem like he had more confidence in Mike White than Teddy Bridgewater.
I feel like we've seen a lot of Mike White. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. Welcome to town. Welcome home. But
I would have rather have seen a veteran backup, a Heineke.
This is what you got. You got Mike White. Mike White's better than Taylor Heineke, and you're talking to the biggest XFL fan on the planet.
I dispute that.
Okay.
Your backup's going to be Tua. I mean.
Stugotz,
good third-string quarterback.
I do want to just go back for a second on something you said. You said it's hard to go win now, all in, win now when you have question at quarterback, and you're right, but it's also the reason they're going all in, win now, right now. It's because they've got that quarterback under a contract that represents value that is cheaper than it would be for the stats he gave you last year when he was healthy. You're right that the whole thing is built on popsicle sticks.
Yep.
But the reason they're going all in now is because they've got Tua cheap now. It's why they can afford to build around him. He's not going to be if he stays healthy this year and does a fraction of what he was doing last year, he's going to break the bank.
He'll be expensive. I understand that. I'm
you
just saying
exercise
it's
a fifth-year option too.
Right. I'm just saying it's hard to feel like they're in win now mode because of that question mark at quarterback. That's all I'm saying.
It's not
like
just
the rest of the roster is great.
They're obviously in win now, though.
Right.
We know that about the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Tua thing, that's been the discussion for years with Tua. They had other question marks beyond that, and I know that's a mighty big one, but their defense fell apart at the end of last season. They brought in a new defensive coordinator. Some of the players, you mentioned Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, you have question marks. They address their secondary with Jalen Ramsey, and they just brought in David Long. And in Vic Fangio's system, you need to have linebackers that can get out in space and cover, and he's very good. He's very fast. If he's paired with Jerome Baker, and I know there's question marks around Jerome Baker, it is a really fast linebacker tandem. You have rumors about Bobby Wagner and Levante David out there swirling around the team. Either way, I feel really confident with the linebacker that they just signed from Tennessee.
Dallas wanted Ramsey. He wanted to come here. Dallas wants Wagner because you want Wagner. You want
He's still very good last year.
To be in a position where they have Fangio, Stugotz's beloved Fangs.
Yep.
And he is revamping a defense that is ready.
Did he find a house yet? What's going on with that? Poor guy, man. Yeah. Down on his luck with his $4.5 million a year. Can't find a place to live.
That you can't underestimate signing Vic Fangio. I mean, he's the guru of all defensive coordinators. You know, you can argue that he's their best coaching hire since Jimmy Johnson.
Not much of an argument when you consider that they've had 10 offensive line coaches in 9 years. Like, who else? That's a rhetorical trick you're playing.
It is.
Give me all the other names you would put in that discussion.
Yeah, there aren't many.
Dumb Capers, Chan Daly twice.
Yeah.
Don't forget Linehan.
Let's not forget Cam Cameron as well.
I've told you guys for many years that football makes the individual measurements difficult for me. I never know when the Dolphins sign a linebacker if that linebacker is a perfect fit, unless Pro Football Focus sort of tells me what is great about that linebacker.
Well, congrats on not being an advanced scout for the NFL, Dan. That's usually how most people do it.
Okay.
You don't have to have any shame associated with that.
But the reason I bring this up is because this morning Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel wrote the column of Mike White is the quietest, most important signing that the Dolphins have made in forever. And last segment, very casually, Stugotz said Heineke's better than Mike White. And I know that I like Heineke running around at the end of games, and I know Mike White has thrown interceptions in some games, but I don't actually know if Heineke is better than Mike White. I know Mike White has had a couple of instances when he's throwing 4 interception games, and I know that you've seen Heineke at the end of a lot of 16-point games win it at the end running around. But Heineke is
it counts.
Heineke is very much a backup quarterback, and I don't actually know if Heineke is better than Mike White. But more to the point, I want to ask you, why do you think you know it, or what do you think it is that you know that makes your assessment Heineke is better than Mike White?
I saw that guy give Tom Brady a hell of a game in a playoff game. He was the only one through that run who had a lead in the fourth quarter against Tom Brady. The kid can play. Now, here's the thing about the kid, the Green Lizard, Taylor Heineke. He's fine being a backup. He's on record as saying, hey, it's one of the greatest jobs in sports. I'm good holding a clipboard for 15 years. So I like a guy who doesn't have a big ego as well. You know what I'm saying?
We're seeing the value of a nickname. Because I think we're kind of all talking back here. We're splitting here. These guys are on the same tier. They're in the same group of
Debatable.
quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the difference maker here, I think, for Stugotz is a nickname. If he can call somebody the Green Lizard, he's going to be slightly ahead of another guy.
Fair.
Well, he's also calling Heineke the kid when he's 2 years older than Mike White.
Feels like a kid, though. I mean, doesn't he?
No.
What is your information? I just want to know, is that it? Is it just I saw Brady in a playoff game struggle against him?
Yeah.
That's your analysis?
Well, and he saw Mike White play for the Jets for 2 years.
Yeah, what's so great about Mike White? Go ahead.
You had one of the greatest quarterback performances in franchise history from Mike White.
Yeah,
I know.
one game.
Stugotz, I
He's
saw
11 touchdowns.
What do you
and
mean in one
16
game? He's
interceptions.
referencing a playoff game. One game with Tyler.
But he
Taylor
also
Heineke.
had
Yeah,
his-
but in the playoffs, it
He
counts
also
as
had
like two. I mean,
0 touchdown, 4 interception game from Mike White.
The Jets and the local radio stations celebrated and congratulated Mike White on the end of an era in New York. The least deserved congratulations on an end of an era and the most diluted era there's ever been in the history of all our accounting of eras.
I think why I rate Mike White over Heineke is I have a pretty damn good idea at what the Green Lizard is. And he's fun, and he can win you a couple of games, but I'm pretty sure of what his ceiling is. And with Mike White, they're more. I want to see more from this player. I think that he has a higher ceiling. So I'm more curious about him, and I think there's more upside with the signing.
I think some of the, and disappointment is probably the wrong word, but some of the, like, you thought, okay, they're going to get someone in the event that Tua gets injured that could be like a serviceable person, right? But if you believe reports, they had a number that they weren't going to go over for a backup quarterback. So it almost seems like, and again, welcome home, Mike White, it almost seems like they settled for that instead of going after someone like Jameis or someone more expensive that has more experience and more
They're
success
paying
at the position.
2 years, $16 million. They are paying Mike
Up to
White.
$16 million if he gets a bunch of bonuses and, you know, time spent playing and stuff like that, which I think if you're Mike White is smart because if you're Mike White, are banking on, hey, Tua has an injury history. Maybe this is the place that I'm going to get the most playing time and I can get that money and then get another contract and start for another team if Tua gets injured and I get the playing time.
You're in win now mode with a quarterback who can't stay healthy. If he gets hurt, you're going to Mike White. I guarantee you any Dolphin fan would rather go to Taylor Heineke. I guarantee
what you're doing
you.
is disingenuous, though, because you're saying you're in win now mode. Why are you in win now mode? Because you're affording guys like Jalen Ramsey. And you might be able to afford guys like Bobby Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd afford them the ability to not go for $2 extra million on Jameis Winston when Jameis Winston and Mike White could be comparable in their eyes.
I'm saying
you'd rather
go to Taylor Heineke than Mike White.
But
I don't know what you're doing with Mike White.
I don't know what you're doing.
What are you doing
what
with
are you doing?
They're the
The Green
same.
Lizard.
Like Taylor
Chris-
Heineke is not a guy you want starting for you.
He had 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions last year. Mike White was not good. He was not good last year. He wasn't good the year before that either. He had a game. He had a single game. That's it.
Mike White was easily the best quarterback that you had.
Well, that's
Over the
not
last
saying
few
much. Yes.
Mike White is 23. If he's as good as
No,
some,
he's not
It's like
23.
27.
He's 27 years old.
okay, Mike White he's coming into his prime.
If you'd
All-
been at the
all
meeting,
I love
if
the-
you'd been
the
at the meeting,
argument
you would
shifts,
know
isn't
it.
it?
all the better argument.
Did you just guess how old he was?
Yeah, if Mike White is as good as some of you think, why are the Jets letting him go? Why aren't they re-signing him?
Because they have to make room for Aaron Rodgers' contract.
They would re-sign
They have
him
Zach
if
Wilson.
they thought he was that good.
Be the backup.
They don't think he's that good. The
That's
Dolphins only got him because he was super cheap because they didn't want to pay him a cent more than Tua's making on the last year of his rookie contract.
They're not going piece by piece here. They're making their offseason moves on the whole. There's a plan. I know it's the Jets, but this is thought out.
I do believe you say it's thought out. I would say it's thought out better for Mike White and his people than it is for the Dolphins. This is a great situation for Mike White.
It's perfect for
he
him.
made a great move. He made a great decision.
Not just because he can play, because Tua might get hurt, but also who he'd be playing with.
Yeah, and you mentioned the incentive-laden contract. I don't know this to be true, but I don't think anyone knows anything to be true, and they're just like firing from the hip here. I think Mike White had a lot of options, and he's a local guy, and when you look at the landscape of the NFL and good backup jobs that have question marks surrounding the starter, not just performance but health, he got himself a damn good situation. He might have taken less to come to it.
I feel bad for our audience having to endure backup quarterback Dolphins talk.
It's an important position.
With this franchise, it might as well be a starting quarterback conversation.
I love the idea that we're calling Mike White the most quietest, most important signing of the offseason. He's somebody who you hope doesn't play. You hope Mike White never gets on the field. How important is that signing?
Dad, Tua missed a bunch of games. We had to start a backup, our third stringer in the playoffs.
And because he missed a bunch of games last year does not foretell that he's going to miss a couple of games this year. The reason I wrote that they should go after Lamar Jackson is that he's better than Tua, not because Tua is quote-unquote injury-prone.
You say the reason that I wrote this, but I've been wanting to bring this up for a couple of weeks, and you and your son haven't been in at the same time. Your son and I have been snickering off air about the fact that you have now descended, as you approach your 50th year at the Miami Herald, into a blatant grabbing for clicks wherever you can get them, including suggesting that Lamar Jackson should be the Dolphins quarterback because you are now interested in being the most shocking columnist that has ever existed. Chris Cote, just make your argument before your father defends himself defensively.
I feel a little uncomfortable here because I don't want to reveal things that my dad has said to me, Dad. But you know which topics get clicks and which don't. When I suggest a column to you, and if it might rhyme with Ranthers, you go, no one reads those columns.
Okay. What, Christopher? The conversation you and I have had, and it's true, and it's not a secret, is that when I write about the Dolphins or football or the Heat, it's guaranteed eyeballs. Those are big ticket beats. Anytime I write about them, I'm going to have good traffic. If I write about the Panthers or the Marlins or anybody else, unless it's Messi coming to Miami, which I'll milk for about 3 columns, then it doesn't do good business. And it's quantifiable now. And that's the situation I live in. Le Batard got out at the right time. Because you used to have the luxury of thinking, oh, whatever I write, everybody's reading it. Everybody reads what I write.
It used to be about how many. It used to be about how many driveways your newspaper was on. And
that's right.
That's a lot of people. It doesn't matter if they read it. Now it's about if they actually read your stuff.
Right. And everything is quantifiable down to the millimeter.
I don't understand why we're criticizing Greg here. Like, we do the same thing. That's why, people want weekend observations. They don't want the top 5 from Tony because you get the ones that work and the ones that don't.
Tricks for clicks.
Exactly.
First off, that's something that people clamor for every single week of the NFL season. I don't know where that came from.
It was an unnecessary low blow. It
Dan,
was a low blow.
He's a sponsor. He's a sponsor of the top 5. That's why he wants to promote it as much as he
one of the
can.
haters.
One of the haters, Dan. You got it.
Tony here, because he's been unfair to you, and because he's cruel to you at every turn, and because he's an anarchist who is not nice.
True.
Can you please have the floor here for 45 seconds on what the Dolphins have done here over the last couple of days that you like, don't like? Because I'm seeing a lot of applause. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people who have any problem with anything the Dolphins are doing.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about the defense because that's something that was a problem for them last year. They bring in Vic Fangio, like he's a legitimate defensive force in this league. They're going to run a 3-4. I think they're going to have a bunch of different people to be able to help them on the defensive end. From every level of the defense, from the defensive line, linebacking core, to the corners, to the safeties, I think they're making really smart plays. And the Jalen Ramsey thing is huge because I think X is a 2 now, not a 1. They're going to bring in Ramsey to be the 1. If you have X as a 2, like that's a legitimate number 2 in this league. So I think defensively from top to bottom, every level of the defense are going to do really well.
I don't know, Cody, if it's homerific to just celebrate everything it is that they're doing, because the season did collapse under injury last year, and we had the argument yesterday. I think that they're behind the Bills, that the Bills have been better even as they lose defensive players. It's not a shocking thing to say. They were 4 games better in the regular season standings last year, but when they played, the games were close, and I'd understand the reasons for the Dolphins having hope.
And you saw the Bills had some restructures yesterday with Josh Allen and Von Miller.
Yes, they have been weakened, and the Dolphins have gotten.
But they just did clear like $32 million.
And the Bills games that were close last year with Miami included the playoff game in Buffalo, where Miami came fairly close to winning with a backup quarterback. I think the two teams are almost inseparable, and I think last season proved that. I think Miami has improved appreciably, particularly on defense this offseason. And as I wrote, I think the difference between Super Bowl contending teams and the Dolphins has disappeared. I think the Dolphins right now are and should consider themselves a Super Bowl contender right now, not maybe someday.
Coming from the man opposite Stugotz, who last season predicted a Super Bowl victory for the Dolphins, and they were only not close to that.
Had Tua stayed healthy, that prediction would have come true.
Okay.
And you know it. And you know it.
I don't know it. And I don't know why you think.
You know it.
And you know it.
And you know it.
Get that shirt on the GregCodyShow.com.
That kind of thing. And you know it.
Mm-hmm. There's no comeback.
Yeah. And you know it.
You're at a loss for words, Dan.
You have to.
And you know it.
And you know it. And you do. You know it. Stugotz knows it.
And you know it.
And you know it. A healthy Tua, and the Dolphins are having a parade on Biscayne Boulevard. Elbowing the heat.
And you know
And you know it.
Finish with that one, Greg.
Pants next.
Hello?
Hello.
Pants! Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pants. It's Pants. We got Pants. All right. Oh, Pants. The biggest get in sports. It's Pants. Stugotz, it's Pants.
Look how
Where is he?
happy-
Where's
look how happy
Pants?
Pants is. Look how happy he is. Look at him.
Pants.
We're going to bring Pants out of his shell.
Just happy to be here, you know?
We can't ask you enough questions here. Thank you for being on with us. Your name is not Pants, and you just appeared out
It is now.
of
I mean,
nowhere
yeah.
on me. So forgive me, Curtis Bell, for not introducing you properly. But if you're just joining us, we were laughing the other day or yesterday about Tyreek Hill showing up and dusting a bunch of people, including this man who was running in pants.
Pants!
And Curtis, thank you for being on with us. Please tell us some of your sprinting history here before we get started.
Yeah, so my sprinting history is pretty limited, actually. The last time I ran a 60-meter race was way back in high school, so 2014, so 9 years ago. So pretty limited sprinting background. I was a pole vaulter in college, but I've never been fast. I've never claimed to be fast. I signed up for this race for fun.
Right.
I didn't know that there was going to be a professional athlete in the race. Saw his name pop up, and I'm like, well, I'm in deep shit. So what are you going to do?
Okay, so
You were in deep shit before he got there, Pants. I got to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't think I ever stood a chance, but at least I thought I wasn't going to lose by a second, and then I lost by over a second.
well, take
What are you
us
gonna do?
take us through the morning before here and when it is that you learned that you would be racing against Tyreek Hill. When you're putting on the pants, what are you dreaming your day is going to go like?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, it was in Louisville, Kentucky, right? So me and my wife went down a couple days early, treat it as like a vacation for us. I was walking up and down Bourbon Row, trying all the bourbons, because I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not going to treat this super seriously.
Solid prep.
Pants.
And
All the
then-
greats.
Classic Pants.
Like all the greats.
It's the same. It's everyone who ever races Tyreek Hill gets into the
That's
bourbon
exactly how
beforehand.
Usain Bolt did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't worry, guys. I got into the bourbon afterwards too. Don't worry.
All right, we're
But
not.
the day before, I was looking at the entries list just because I was curious who I was going against, because I hadn't looked at the entries list since I signed up way back in February, and I saw the name pop up, Tyreek Hill, and I'm just like, what are the odds that this is like the Tyreek Hill? Like, there's no shot, right? There's no shot. And then I turn to my wife and I'm like, what are the odds that this is the Tyreek Hill? And she's like, who's Tyreek Hill? And I'm just like, just Google him. It's fine. And she Googles him. She scrolls down a little bit, and on NBC Sports, it pops up, Tyreek Hill entered in first 60 since whatever. And I'm just like, ah, shit. So this is the Tyreek Hill. Crap. Okay. Well, and so I hadn't done any real trading prior to this. So I'm now in a panic because I'm just like, I'm going to be on ESPN. I'm going to get, destroyed, and I'm going to get made fun of on social media. So I go into my bag because I only packed so much stuff because I'm from Michigan. So
Yeah.
I go into my bag and I'm just like, well, I don't have anything in here that's going to look good on national television. So I might as well just have fun with it. And for the record, they're not pants, they're tights. And I used to wear tights a lot in college. So those were some of my college tights.
Whatever you say,
And,
pants.
You'll forever be pants to us, whether they're tights or not.
I will be pants. That's fine.
Why
I will
were you
take
in
pants.
this race? Why were you doing this if you hadn't run since 2014?
Fun, he says.
So Yeah, for fun. So like, I mean, imagine this is like the Masters Championships are basically like the beer league for track, pretty much. Anyone can sign up at any time. Everyone else my age is competing at like USA's and Worlds and stuff like that. I'm just doing this for fun. I signed up because there was a club that's in the area around me, and they wanted me to sign up for as many events as I possibly could to score as many points as I could, because they knew there weren't going to be many 25 through 29-year-olds signing up for any events for this meet. So I was just going to score points if I signed up and finished the race. And so that's what I was trying to do. I was just trying to score points, and I was just trying to run my race. And I mean, I did. I didn't get last, so there is that.
Yeah.
Very
Headband
impressive.
got last.
Yes, headband got last. What did you know about the racing history of the other competitors?
Besides Tyreek Hill, I knew nothing. I have never seen any of the other guys' names before, even though they're my age. Like I said, in college, I was just a pole vaulter, so I didn't race in college. So if I were to have raced, I would probably know some of the guys, but I had
Well,
no
but not
idea who any of these
necessarily,
other guys
because it was an accountant, a property manager, and a museum employee that you were running against.
And
Yeah.
the cheetah.
were. And the cheetah. Yeah, I was racing against the cheetah.
Hey, Pants, at any point when you were in the blocks, did you think, just maybe even a fleeting moment,
I got him.
I got him.
If I get a good
If
start.
I get a
No,
good
no.
start, I can hang in this.
No. I mean, so in all honesty, like for him being a football guy, I thought he was going to get out of the blocks way quicker. So, like, just the fact
You're
that
talking
some
pants.
of the, I was obviously way behind, so like I have no room to talk. But some of the guys held in there for like the first 5-10 meters, and then he just like his foot speed just took off, and he just we never saw him again. So
Did
that's what it
you
was.
say anything afterwards to him? Like almost had you.
No. So, I mean, we get done with the race, and the officials are like ushering us back over to our stuff, and there's just a crowd of people following us because of course. And I just go up to him, and I just give him a fist bump. I'm just like, good shit, man. And then I just walk away.
Did you notice how high he was jumping before you started the race?
You had to see it. I mean,
No, I was trying not to look at him.
Oh, wow. Well
You
played.
were that intimidated? You were just looking at the floor?
Well, I mean, he's a freaking professional athlete. Like, I'm not going to try to compare myself to a professional athlete. There's no shot.
Yeah, he did a 7-foot vertical leap before the race.
Can you tell us about
Yeah.
whether or not you were surprised to beat anybody, or were you thrilled that you didn't finish last?
Did you look around and see, I got headband.
I got museum employee.
I got, the museum employee's got no shot.
but Pants, I got to be honest. Headband was in front of you. You really brought it home strong at
you
the end.
chased
You
him
finished
down.
strong.
You chased
man.
him down.
Did you mock him afterwards?
All about the strong finish. No. So, I mean, basically all the other guys, like, I mean, obviously we knew this was going to be on like ESPN and all over social media afterwards. So like we were teasing each other beforehand, just like, I'll see you guys on ESPN later. I'll see you guys. And then after the race, talked to some of the guys afterwards. He took pictures with them and everything. And then we go up to get our awards, and like, I mean, none of us are saying anything. It's like we knew what just happened. And so like none of us are talking, none of us are doing anything. I talked to one of the guys the day after, and I was just like, did you see everything on ESPN? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did you read any of the comments? He's like, yeah, some of the comments are really funny because like they're calling us the accountant, museum employee, all that stuff, and they're calling me like.
I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you some of the comments here. If these are any of the ones you're thinking of, you could be a farmer in those clothes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not far from the truth. I grew up in a small town, so.
Bro was racing mailmen and Uber drivers. Dude was running against FedEx employees.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living, Pants?
So believe it or not, I'm actually a track and field coach.
What?
Oh, still, huh?
He's an assistant coach at Central Michigan University. So what are your pupils
Chips.
and students saying about today? Are you a celebrity on campus for finishing fourth in Pants?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously our administration's making fun of me. The kids are making fun of me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, we have girls on the team right now that are faster than me. I have no shame there. And yeah, I mean, I don't even coach the sprints. I coach vertical jumps and throws. So like, I don't even touch the sprints. And again, I was just doing this for fun too. So I mean, all the girls are making fun of me. They all want to race me now because they think they can beat me. And Yeah, I mean that's basically it.
You had legitimately done no training though for this. You didn't even run a.
We did the bourbon sampler.
Yep, you didn't.
Yeah,
You,
I did very limited training. So like, I mean, basically all I do nowadays is just lift because I don't like running. I hate running actually, and so I just lift all the time now. So basically that was my training, was just lifting for fun.
Are you making a big announcement here? Are you hanging up the pants? Was that your last race?
Probably my last race. Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Big news.
Well, keep in mind too, I
Fourth
did
place,
like
I mean.
4 events after that too. So
Right.
thank you, Curtis, for being on with us. We appreciate you being a good sport about things. Will you keep in touch with the property manager, the accountant, the museum employee? You share a bond now forevermore, being left in the wake, the mocking wake of one very fast NFL player.
yep, we're forever immortalized now.
Did you size up your competition and say to yourself, because you realized that they were looking at your pants and saying, I've got at least this guy, but did you?
We're all in the block saying, oh, dear God, let me not lose a pants.
Dan, I think the guys in lane 3 and 4, they take it so seriously. They thought they were beating Tyreek Hill.
I'm just wondering if Curtis looked at them, sized them up, and just thought to himself, well, this guy, this guy I got.
I mean, probably too, because like I'm also 5'7", 150 pounds. I'm tiny, so they probably thought that, they probably looked at me and they're just like, oh, this guy's tiny. There's no shot he has any chance. And I mean, they're right. I had no chance.
you give off like 6'3", 6'4" on the video clip.
You do.
So,
you do.
Yeah,
I think
good
it's a
for you.
pants.
I'm
Great angle.
I'm 5'7", guys. I'm 5'7".
Wow, pants.
Curtis, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right,
Bye, pants.
See you, pants.
Love you, pants.
See you guys.
It did look as if he were racing our show, and I'm not sure which show member he would be. But I'm going to say Cote. Greg Cote.
Oh, wow. I'm taller than him.
And you know it.
Exactly.
I don't believe that the Miami Heat are capable of luring Mike Ryan in for real and for good until the playoff games start and they win a couple of them or they get a lead. Otherwise, I believe Mike Ryan will be out on this season as soon as they get behind in the playoffs.
Oh,
he doesn't
no.
believe in this team very much at all.
No. Last night, turning point number 36 on the season. We have set a
What direction?
franchise record for turning points. This time, it's for real, really, maybe.
Oh boy.
It can't be for real against the Utah Jazz at home, sub 500.
Eking out a win against the tanking Jazz
They can't
has
blow-
me believing.
They can't blow anyone out. They cannot win an easy game.
Win's a win, Dan.
He doesn't believe in the team anymore.
They're
so
not
a
good.
win is not a win.
They're worse than last year. Way worse than last year. And well, it was good to see Kyle Lowry back out there again. Not.
Let me examine for a second Stugotz's analysis here.
Sarcasm. Wow.
A win's a win, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
How is that helpful here?
Well, you're talking about the margin of victory. Who cares as long as you get the victory?
Mm-hmm.
They got a W last night. I mean,
If you win the NBA Finals by 1 point, if you win it by 60 points, does it matter? You won the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying.
I would like to celebrate Jimmy Butler because I didn't think he'd be number one when he signed here. I never thought he'd be the player that he's displayed he's been. But even at this age, considering all the mileage that he had on him before, his style of play, to be able to go to the line as much as he does, to make it look as effortless as he does, no one really accuses him of flopping. He's just a lead and initiating contact. He puts up these stat lines like prime Derrick Rose.
It's
where he's
very
like
efficient.
5 of like 13 sometimes, but 21 points are at the charity stripe.
It is a hard way. I know it's called the charity stripe. I've never referred to it that way.
Well done, Mike.
It's a hard way to make a living. 15 free throws a game. Getting clobbered by those people and ending up on the ground all the time. It's also not a great way for him to age when they're going to be paying him $50 million 3 years from now.
Kind of the way
a
that D
season.
Wade aged, though. And there's a lot of similarities.
Oh, but
in
he
their
got
game.
a lot fewer free throws. No, everybody stopped fighting, stopped getting the pump fakes, jumping on the pump fakes.
No. They didn't stop pumping. They didn't stop jumping on the pump fakes. He stopped going to the rim as much. But make no mistake about it, D. Wade will be able to draw that foul and get a defender to leave his feet until he's like 87 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It is an ability. It's not an aesthetically pleasing ability. It's an ability that also James Harden has, and Philadelphia will beat you this way too because you cannot do anything other than foul Joel Embiid and James Harden.
Right, but they cheat. They're floppers. Not my guy.
Your guy is not a cheater. He does it efficiently. However, this team, Stugotz, is just middling. It's a very average basketball team. Kevin Love isn't going to fix anything.
No. It's hard, and it's hard to think, hey, just get there and this team can make a run only because the top of the East is so strong. Like, I just don't
even
see
when they
it.
play those
Milwaukee,
teams,
Boston Sixers are so good.
But
man.
outside of Milwaukee, when they play those teams, you see a path. You can convince yourself, and that's what makes watching this team so frustrating, especially this season, because there have been several points in this season where you're like, okay, turning point starts now. They're going to start sacking wins, and they drop an inexplicable game. If I may advance the conversation and take it to a different place, because I don't think it's unreasonable to talk about where this is all going.
But I don't know why you keep saying they drop an inexplicable game if they're the Pacers.
If that's who they are.
They're not a lot better than the Jazz.
Well,
they're not.
Yeah, I hear you, and I tend to agree with you this season. I'm saying when you consider expectations and where this franchise has been over the last 4 years, this is kind of odd. This is not.
But
what
I'm not judging. I'm not saying when I look at them, I'm not looking at them and saying, well, Bam and Jimmy have been great before and are near all-star level, therefore they're better than the Pacers. Nah. They've been the Pacers this year.
Right.
Like
welcome
But
to the
that's
party.
confusing. I think that's the disappointing part, and the confusing part is how a team was a shot away from making it to the NBA Finals, and now they're the Pacers.
I'm not playing both sides. I don't. I even though I really do enjoy being right. God, it's my favorite fucking thing on the planet. But I was very right about this team, and I'm a fan of it, and I don't like seeing it play out. So I want to take it to another direction. Where is this going? They have Kyle Lowry on the books for another year. They've got an aging Jimmy Butler who's been temperamental and is wearing on everybody. And we're just at that point in the Jimmy Butler experience. That's what I tried to get this conversation off the ground yesterday. They're tired of each other. It's hard. And when you're not having the success that Jimmy really works so hard for, especially when he's playing this well, it only becomes more surly and worse of an atmosphere. And I think at a certain point headed into this offseason, Miami's got to have a conversation internally and discuss where this is going with Jimmy Butler specifically.
I should point out to the people, because you'd be right if you pointed to the standing and said, well, the Heat are winning more than they lose, and the Pacers, for example, are losing more than they win. They're not exactly the Pacers, but they're behind Brooklyn and Cleveland and the Knicks in a way
as a
that
Heat
makes
homer,
them feel like the Hawks, who were in the Eastern Conference Finals recently, or
Correct.
the Raptors.
Yes.
The Raptors.
Yeah, I'm not going to get mad at you for grouping them in that tier. They're very clearly that tier right now. And I look at how Brooklyn's playing, and I don't know if they're better than Brooklyn. I don't think they're going to catch Brooklyn, and they're going to find themselves in the play-in.
This year, they have not played like they're better than the Knicks. The Knicks look like they're
Knicks are
better.
better.
They're not better than Cleveland.
Right.
The Nets are too hard to judge based on the different mutations of the Nets, because they've had so many different lineups out there. And when that team was healthy with Durant and
They've
Kyrie
held
Irving,
strong, though, since those guys
yes,
have
they've
left.
won
I'd
some
rather
of
be the
those
Heat.
games, but they're not as strong.
No,
they're
obviously.
not that
Right.
team anymore, and you
Right.
wouldn't fear them in the playoffs.
No.
In fact, if you were
You
the
want
Heat,
them in the
if you were the
playoffs.
Heat, you'd love to get them in the first round.
I'd much rather be the Heat than the Nets right now, but I bet you there's a bunch of national writers that don't have the attachment to the history and the ability of Miami to turn this thing around in one off season. I'd rather have the Heat's leadership going forward. But if you watch the NBA every night and you want to tell me you'd buy stock in Brooklyn and sell all your Heat stock, I wouldn't get mad at you, given what we've seen just recently after those acquisitions from Brooklyn.
I don't think you're being entirely fair to Jimmy Butler. I know he's wearing on people, and that's what he does, and he's wearing at his welcome, but they've had a run that we never expected with Jimmy Butler as their best player. So when you say, where does this go, I'm not certain they have any other options. Like, where would it go?
He's been great, and it's no longer good enough. And in order for them to win, you need Bam or Tyler to be someone who is almost as good as Jimmy Butler as he fades into the background. But at the end of that game against Cleveland, Stugotz, Spo is screaming at everyone at the end against Cleveland. Get him open. 6 times he's yelling, get him open. He's the one I trust the way I trusted Wade. Like, you can't get tired of the guy that you're building everything around. You can't get tired of the guy who thinks he's better than everyone on the team and knows he's better than everyone on the team because he is better than everyone on the team. Because Bam is okay, or his limits are such that the best he's going to be is a great defensive player whose team it cannot be, because he's not going to supplant Jimmy Butler. And if he does supplant Jimmy Butler, it's not because he got better, it's because Jimmy got worse.
In today's NBA, Butler can't be your best player. He just can't. For me,
I don't know.
Greg, it got him to the finals and shot away.
Yeah,
And he didn't have Bam or Goran that time.
It was awfully close, Greg.
and everybody else in the East improved. That's why they're right where they should be at 7th. If you win and lose that many games close by 4 or 5 points or less, it's the very definition of you're pretty good, but you're not that good.
I think you're both right.
He's not pretty good, Greg. Like, we can
Playoff
sit
Jimmy
here.
is a cut above.
He came in here. He came in here with all of us doubting that he could lead a team to the finals. We can't say that anymore.
No.
Like, that's not a
He
thing.
led a team to the finals.
In defeat, he helped his legacy so much that I think it's unfair to say he can't be the best player on a championship team.
Okay, all right.
I think it's fair to say
He's
about
changed
him.
that.
Now he has to have earned that. I think with the run in the bubble and last year's playoff.
Okay, but Mike, if you really believe that, you wouldn't be saying what's next. What do they do now? Because you would feel
No,
like with
but
a
Jimmy
with
Butler is
tinkering,
what's
Greg,
next.
Greg,
Yes,
I'm looking at
build
that.
around him.
I'm looking at that cap number and projecting his age.
Greg, they have not worsened because Jimmy Butler has gotten worse. He's having one of the best seasons of his life and maybe the most efficient. They've gotten worse because their shooting is worse in the league. That can be made better around him. When it was made better around him, when they shot well, they were what they've been the last couple of years.
He's retained his value a lot better than we thought he would when he signed this contract.
He has aged better than I thought he would. I am surprised to see him still out there going 6 for 8 with 20 free throws.
Now, other fans may think I'm crazy, but I do think that you can head into this offseason and no one's really looking at that contract afraid of it. If you have a team that's close, they may make a run at Jimmy Butler. So what I'm asking is, do you have that conversation? Because I think you know what the ceiling is with this Miami Heat team. They swung out. They struck out on trying to acquire guys like Kevin Durant. Who's out there that's going to be who's out there that's going to make Jimmy Butler the number 2 that we think he can be as he ages?
Yeah.
Maybe Kyrie. I have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't want him, but Jimmy Butler it's amazing. It's staggering. The best season of his career. He's never been over 50% from the field. He's 52.5%.
A monster
and by
efficiently.
far his best season shooting the 3 in like 5 or 6 years.
But let's do it this way.
Is that a
because
really good year?
I think a lot of people forget about just human workplace dynamics. You tell me, Stugotz, how you would feel if you were using your body to get 20 free throws a game and you kept looking at your undrafted teammates who can't make a fucking shot. You tell me your body hurts again and again. You're hitting the ground. You make a miracle shot against Orlando, and in overtime, Gabe Vincent's taking all the shots. And
I'd be disappointed, but those same guys made a ton of shots for Jimmy Butler just a year ago. That's why it's confusing.
And he'd be miserable either way. He was miserable last year. Remember, he fought Spoelstra. That was very real.
Okay.
His relationship with Udonis hasn't been the same since then.
it's easier to tolerate the misery of Jimmy Butler when you're making your shots and winning.
Agreed. Easier, but not easy.
Regardless,
hasn't been easy
But
with
none
him.
of this is easy. Winning a championship for no one is easy.
He seems to be on good terms now with Tyler Hero for like an entire season. They were really ice cold to each other. He's a difficult person to manage. And when it's hard to come into work regardless of the success that you're having, you lop on some of these losses and the fact that he's really playing well, I imagine all of that's festering. But it hasn't been fun around Jimmy. Rarely is it ever. He's just that kind of dude.
I do think that it would be fair to be Jimmy Butler having the season that you're presently having and wondering to yourself as someone who wants caretaken whatever the end of his career is, if he's going to be falling on the ground all the time getting foul calls, hey, how about we not have a bad contract in Kyle Lowry? How about we not have a bad contract in Duncan Robinson?
He wanted Kyle Lowry.
No, but I understood. But once you can want Kyle Lowry, and then when he's not performing, be mad at management for betraying you for getting Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, no, that's how it works for me as a fan.
You're supposed to know more than Jimmy Butler. And I was going to say, I'm not going to say wasted money on Tyler Hero, but right now he's not playing up to the value of his contract.
Right, and what I'm telling you, he's going to be mad either way. That's just he runs that way.
That's fine. He can run on the fuel of being angry as long as he's putting up those stat lines. He's not the problem. I don't know what to do with him, but he should have maximum value.
Mike is just saying there's no making him happy. Even winning a title, he wouldn't be happy.
It's fine with that stat line. I didn't care whether Kevin Garnett was happy.